Hello again, thanks for visiting. Today I'm going to be making what I hope to be a box. Now, I've been watching quite a few YouTube videos on wood turning over the past couple of years, and over that I've noticed that I have very creative ideas about wood turning, but my execution might not be as good or as clean. I think that my finishing quality, the quality of the piece in the end is very acceptable, but I kind of am in the mood lately to make something very beautiful, like mainly as an art piece, not so much for usefulness. So I'm going to try to make a box today, and I'm going to try to really pour all of my skill into it and really try to make something very nice. I'm going to be making the box out of this big slab of maple, and this is a pretty big piece, and it was going to be a bowl, but I have got a big split down the middle and quite a few knots on the other end, so that's probably not good for a bowl anymore. So I'll probably just cut that in half into a couple of squares and see where that goes. I want to make a box because I'm really trying to get some practice in for using up these. These are 2 clarinet blanks of African Blackwood. This is really dense wood, and I really don't want to waste this. I want to make something very nice out of these, so I'm trying to get some ideas of what to do with these before I go ahead and start turning these down. And I keep on forgetting to do this in a video, but I've been meaning to thank everyone who posted a comment on, I think it was 3 weeks back. I turned a bowl out of oak. I just rough turned it, and I said that I really had no idea how to dry a bowl well without having it get all split up on me and warped to death. And a lot of people suggested different things. Someone said to put it in a burlap sack. Other people said to wrap it in newspaper packed with shavings. And I got a lot of great ideas, so thanks everybody who posted. And I'm going to go ahead and show you all the bowls that I've turned. There they all are. There's not many of them, maybe less than 10. But I have been working at it for a little while, and I asked the president of my wood turning club about why I'm getting all of my rough turn bowls, why they keep on splitting on me. And he said that a lot of that could do with the wall thickness not being even all the way around, because apparently that's pretty important, because what happens is when the moisture tries to escape, it will warp up the bowl, and if it's not even all the way around, the thicker part will not want to warp as easily as the others, and that causes a crack from it trying to move. And that's what all the cracks and splits are caused from, apparently. So I've been rough turning a lot. I have a lot here out of ash. I have a couple out of Chinese elm, and these 2 right here are, I think, Norfolk pine, some type of really special pine. It has these really odd looking knots on the bottom, and when you turn it down, this looks like a star. So I'm pretty excited about these 2. Again, thanks to everybody who suggested comments, and the bowl that I turned in that video is doing well. I do not have any checks on it yet. Okay, so let's get started. Here's the piece of maple, and I hope you can see that I have one massive crack down the middle. So I'm gonna try to eliminate that by taking a slice out. And it's pretty straight, so that helps. I'm just gonna mark a line where I'm gonna cut. And this piece of wood is maybe about 3-4 inches thick, probably. I'm gonna mark where it's at, right about there. Okay, so that hopefully will eliminate that massive crack that I have down the middle, and I can get 2 nice portions of this log. center here, just like this. I'm going to use an awl because I can see where the center is better than trying to line it up that way. Okay, just like that. Pull up my tailstock. Put the tool rest a little above center. I'm going to go at this with my roughing gouge. I'll have my speed at around 1,000. Just want to keep on moving up your tool rest to avoid getting a catch. I only have about 2 more flat spots. Okay, that's about round. And I thought I saw there's one more crack right here. So it only goes down to about here. Gotta mark that so I know where that's at. And I'm gonna part it there so I only have the good part of this piece of wood left. Okay. I also formed a little tenon there because I will need that later. And I'm just going to go ahead and take this off with the hacksaw. Just going to put this in my chuck here. Tighten that down. You can usually tighten it a little more from the other side of your chuck, and that should keep it nice and stable while you turn. I'll set this for the height of my bowl gouge, which is just a little below center. That should be good. I'm using my Carter & Sons 5/8 inch bowl gouge, and I'm just going to go ahead and try to get some sort of a shape here. Went ahead and put in a little bit of a smaller tool rest. Going to be using my roughing gouge again to try to clean this up because I just sharpened this. Okay. This is going to be the type of lid that I usually do on all my boxes. And it's basically where you make a recess in the bottom of the lid, or the inside of the lid, and you make a tenon to loosely fit that recess. And this seems to work out most of the time, so hopefully this will work. I'm just going to be using my bowl gouge. Okay, that right there is the mortise on the inside of the lid, the little recess. So now I'm going to start to shape the lid, and I'll part it off and form the tenon that this mortise will seat onto on the front side of the box. Might sound confusing, but hopefully it'll make sense when you see it. Okay, my plan is to sand the inside and maybe the outside a little bit and put on my finish, and then flip it around and expand a smaller set of jaws on my chuck into the mortise to finish up the top. I'm going to be wet sanding with paste wax, and then I'll buff it and maybe put on a few coats of beeswax for a little more protection. I'm going to be sanding with 180, 240, 320, 400, 600, and 800. And most of those grits are this Rhino Soft foam back sandpaper. And I really like using this foam back sandpaper while turning because it's very comfortable to hold up. It doesn't heat up and burn your fingers, and it's just a lot nicer than using fabric backed sandpaper. So let's go ahead and get started. And before I start, just a word of advice with sanding with paste wax. It is very messy. It tends to spray back up at you. So I'm going to keep my speed a little slow. This is 800 grit. That looks nice. Pretty wood. At the end there, I turn my speed at 1500, which on this lathe, if I want to go faster than that, up to I think it's 3200, I have to get in there and change pulley to the next, or change the belt to the next pulley over. And I've never done that before, and I don't really want to, so I keep it from like, I think the speed that I'm on now is from 200 to 1500, and that seems to work for most of the turning that I do. And with a parting tool, I'm gonna bring that down, and then I'll switch out the jaws on my chuck and clean up the top. change of plan. I just remembered how you usually do a box. You turn down a tenon, which will be the tenon that will fit in the mortise, and you use it as a jam chuck at first to clean up the top, so that's what I'll be doing. I haven't done a box in a long time and I kind of forgot. So I have a set of calipers here. I'm just going to measure the inside diameter. Okay, it's about there. I'm going to lock this down. I'm going to bring this, just a little bit of it down to that size. And I have a little while to go. Is scary when stuff like that happens and you don't expect it. I swear to God. I don't know what just happened, but I'm putting back on the big tool rest because God dang it. I don't know what's happening with my banjo here. There's this little bolt and it keeps on coming loose while I'm turning, and stuff like that will happen, and it really worries me. If anybody knows how to fix that, let me know in the comments. Well, that didn't work at all. Okay. I don't know what's happening right now. It's like the dysfunctioning banjo, I swear to God. I put washers in there and everything else, replaced the bolt, and this always happens. I'm just gonna buy a new one. Hopefully it'll work this time. God dang it, no, it keeps on coming loose. And like as I'm in the middle of turning something like this, my stupid banjo will just start coming loose. Okay, let's see if we can do this. Still too loose by quite a lot. Okay, just gonna try this one more time. If I don't get it now, I'll figure something else out. Just a little more. I just need the tiniest bit more. Take it that way. That's about perfect just for normal. If you were just going to use this as a box, but for a jam chuck it's not going to work. But that is okay because I'm just going to use a little bit of masking tape and maybe wrap just a thin layer around, just to sort of shim it up. Give me a perfect fit. More. I may have gotten it this time. I'm just going to try to squish it on there and see what happens. Oh man. You know, that's good enough. I don't need it to be able to sit unsupported by a tailstock, so this will be good enough for right now. I just need to clean up the top. I'm going to be using a tiny little spindle gouge for this. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that, so I'm going to try to sand it now. Okay, and that's what's left, but other than that, it doesn't look too bad. I could probably just carve this off with a little chisel. That's what I've got left. So that'll be my lid, and I'm just going to go ahead and sand up the tiny little spot in the center. Take the tape off, and gives me a nice fit. It's loose, but there's no play in it, so that's about perfect. So now I can turn down the rest of my box, and we can see what it looks like. I'm going to be using my roughing gouge for this. That is about good enough. I can start putting some detail on this thing. This is probably the fun part of this project. I don't know. I suppose it's not that bad of a shape. It's always very different than what you have in your head once you put the lid up against it. Seems like this lid looks awfully large, but it's not particularly horrible. It's just different than what I was planning. We'll roll with it. Roll with it. Okay, now that I have the outside of the box to a shape that I like, I'm going to start hogging out the inside. Now, mainly how you would do this on a lathe is you would set up a drill chuck in your tailstock and you would push it in and out with whatever drill bit, whatever Forstner bit that would fit in there, so you wouldn't have to hog out as much. But I'm going to be drilling into end grain, and I do not have a drill chuck set up for this lathe. So I'm just gonna take the long way and just get this out of there with a bowl gouge. And my speed will be at around 1300. Now I could go ahead and start sanding this, and I'm just going to go through the same grits that I did last time and wet sand with that paste wax mix. I'm going to part it right off with my parting tool and try to catch it. Gonna cut this off with just a small little chisel. That's gonna wrap it up for this box. And you know, I had a certain design in my head, and whenever I make a box, this always seems to happen. After I make the lid, I set it aside, I shape the body, and when I'm done with the body, I put the lid on, and it's like the lid and the body are just disproportional to each other. I mean, like I said, this time it's not bad looking. Like, it's not necessarily a horrible design, but it's just different than what I had pictured. So I think that's something to keep in mind while making a box, is just match them up against each other every now and then as you're turning, and just make sure that they look right. That whole project took me maybe 2 or 3 hours. It wasn't really that long, but there was actually a lot that went into it. I mean, a box, as simple a thing as it is, there is quite a bit of stuff that goes into it. I mean, it's not necessarily a hard thing to make. I think the most tricky thing about it with me is Just trying to get this tenon to match up. I mean, I've got just the tiniest bit of play in here. It might be less than a 1/16 of an inch, but it still will shake back and forth. And I think a perfect fit is where it's loose, you can turn it easily, maybe a little tight, but there's no play in it. I think that's a good fit. And making this for a jam chuck, what I was talking about is this half of it was already mounted into my chuck, and once I parted this off, I needed to clean up the top. So I was planning on turning the tenon that this would eventually seat onto permanently, making it a little bigger than needed for a jam chuck, so I could just smash that on there, and it would hold itself unsupported by a tailstock, so I can clean up the face of it. And oh my god, I played around with masking tape and everything else. Oh, it was just making me crazy. So eventually I just realized that I should just put the tailstock in and not even fool around, and I would just work it down as small as I could and then sand it and clean up the part in the middle by hand. This really has a nice grain pattern to it. I think the wood is really nice. This was just maple, and it was just a slab that I helped cut up at my wood turning club. They gave me 4 pieces of maple, 4 pieces of cherry, and those were all intended to be bowls, so the 1 piece of maple eventually split and cracked up on me, so I just cut it in half to make it into 2 blanks. I still have a lot of them left. I might just use it for something else. This box will be available on my eBay store. Right down there's going to be a link in the description. Click that and it'll take you right to the listing with this on it. And I'll even throw in a business card. That's funny, isn't it? If this is your first time here, welcome! I put new woodworking videos up every Friday, so subscribe and you will not miss them. So tune back in next Friday and I will see you guys then. And afterwards, there's gonna be a free